entrepreneurs out here, I would definitely like you to look at certain important points that I'm going to talk about right now. So basically, this is a part of my session which I do call the customer growth plan. If you're in business, what is that one thing which is going to get you going? You may have an amazing business model. You may have a super duper product. But if you don't have a customer, you tend to die. So all of us as entrepreneurs, whatever investments that we do it because of this one person called the customer. They are our king, and this program was designed for successful customer acquisition in this competitive market. So I didn't want to actually cut. This is a small glimpse from the larger program that I'm going to show you here. But it will definitely open up a little bit of thought process for you. It's very important that as entrepreneurs, we sit and we start looking on top of your business, a bird's eye view of your business, because you don't want to lose any time. So, how many of you have these questions in mind? If you have a business, or can I have a show of hands on somebody who is already started your business, you have a venture and you're sitting here, or probably you are wanting to start your business. You can put up your hands or even go through these questions in your own mind. I'm unable to grow my business. I believe it will take few years to succeed. It's not going to happen. If you already started your business and if you think in next 2 years, 3 years, I'll be fine without doing anything, it's never going to be happening, because you've got to take your business to the next stage. I have good products, good services, but I'm stuck. Unable to find customers, it's because of lockdown, etc., giving reasons for not finding customers. I have a reseller network, still not satisfied about it. Their progress, it's very difficult to sell through them, don't know the reason. I'm a first-time entrepreneur, I don't know how to take my business forward. So if any of these points are running in your mind, this session, not just these, but even people with 10 years of experience in business have found certain points which I'm going to speak to you useful. Right. So just to give you an intro as to why you should listen to me, or why should you take my points, because I had an experience of transforming myself from an education of paramedical education to getting into entrepreneurship, failing to businesses. As a woman, once you fail, you're done for the lifetime. But I had a second opportunity and the third, and that's when I realized women need ecosystems like these. And I have an experience of consulting over 1,000+ women entrepreneurs to build sustainable and scalable businesses. And most important 3 things that any business, whether it's product or whether it's service, the most important 3 things that every business must have is: 1, customers, which all of us know. Without customers, you will not be able to survive your business, however good your brand is. Next is business knowledge. This is something which not everybody upgrade. You keep going from expos to expos, stalls to stalls, advertisements to advertisements, but without building a knowledge which is just not sales and marketing alone, even if you spend millions in advertising it, if your product is not worthy to be sold, or if you are not knowledgeable enough to sell it the right way, it's going to be really difficult for you to progress. The third one is having the right support system, which even in the previous panel, again and again, this is something which was being discussed. Again, clarity, commitment, and consistency in running your business and taking it forward. Let me explain. Yesterday, again, somebody discussed this in a panel. Anything that you start, any business that you start, I strongly believe in this model. It is actually a Japanese way of living life. It's a Japanese way of lifestyle, which is nothing but Japanese are known to live for long. The simple reason is because they work throughout their life, but work is not something which comes with a retirement for them. They choose what they love and they continue to do what they love continuously. So the business that you choose, I would recommend, I call it a Ikigai model of business, which means there are 4 important things that I would like to tell you. One is passion, something that you love and something that you're good at. Generally, when you start a business, you probably, there are women especially, they say, hey, I love doing this and I'm good at it, so I'm starting my business. And that is just passion, not necessary that everybody might pay, and that is where you as an entrepreneur might actually fail, because you are just going for passion without knowing whether people will actually pay for your business. The next is mission. So I'll explain these 4 things. Mission is something that you love and the world needs. Vocation is something that you're paid for and what the world needs. And most of the times, you would have seen people working in high-funder IT jobs with a 5-figure salary, but still regretting it and leaving their jobs and starting from scratch. Why does that happen? It's because they choose vocation where they are not even probably 100% good at, or they don't even love what they're doing, but they are being paid for being mechanical in their job. That's the vocation. And profession is something that you're good at and you're paid for. There's nothing else. There's no, you don't love it, you don't, the world doesn't need it, but then you still keep doing. But my Ikigai model is something where if you are choosing a business with all of these 4 things, what you love doing, what you are also good at, and what you also get paid for. People who pay are your customers. If you have a great business and you do amazing art and nobody is going to pay for it and buy from you, then obviously you can't sustain as a business. So what people pay for, and there should also be need in the market. So I'm directly comparing this Ikigai, the lifestyle model, as an entrepreneur model itself. Okay? So if you're going to choose a model which has a market, which people will be willing to pay for, which you love doing, and which you're also good at, you will be able to build a sustainable business among your competition too. Because competition is going to be inevitable. Day in and day out, you're going to definitely have a lot of hurdles that you face. But if you love what you're doing, you will be able to do it. And this is new. Ikigai is for life, but business is a lifestyle for entrepreneurs. And I strongly recommend this. Next is, what is your business to you? What does it mean to you? It is like a passion, is it livelihood, or what is it? So I want everybody into business to understand this. These are some of the world's tallest buildings. If you actually see, you are able to see these tall buildings, but when you, in the second half of the slide, you will be able to see each of these tall buildings are standing tall because of the depth in the foundation, the basement that is being built. Each of these have a basement of 165 floors below. What we see is this. What we don't see is that. And this building is able to stand because there is so much of foundation laid there for it to stand tall. Why is this slide important? Basically because if you want your business to really be sustainable and also stand up and live longer than you are, business is not something that when you shut your shop, your business should not stop. It should be sustained. It should earn for you even when you sleep. And this foundation that you put for your business is definitely going to be the one which is what people are going to see is this. So there is a lot of work which has to be done before you really build such business. So remember this, there is nothing called quick business. One day sale somewhere does not define that you will not die the next day. That's something which every entrepreneur must definitely have on your mind. For which, if you want to really build such a business in any industry, service or product, any industry, one thing what you must know is first, analyze yourself. If you're the founder, you're the business, do you know that if in your own case, how you ran your business and how your counterpart ran your business? For example, somebody who built Ola was able to build such a big industry, but a travel agent, your neighborhood brother, or even you who had a travel industry with cabs did not build it. Why? Everything starts with analyzing yourself. The same business in different hands will have a different stage of growth. So first thing, this is my self-analysis scorecard, whether you are going to start your business or whether you have relatives who are into business. I always suggest and recommend this, which is a self-analysis scorecard. In case you want a PDF of this or something like that, you can always follow our Insta. It's WeDoWomen_India. That's our Instagram. You can follow us there and message me there. We will definitely send you these PDFs. So basically, score yourself. If you're here, you can directly do that. Score yourself. Give 10 scores for each of it. Do you have a vision? Are you focused? I start with a plan. I start small, but I plan to grow big. I know the customer. I build an engaged tribe. How much are your own customers willing to speak about you even in your absence? How many can claim that? Even without me, in my absence, there is my customer who has no stake in my profits will speak about me. So build an engaged tribe. I have the perseverance, grit, and determination. Whatever happens, I'm not giving up. I am coachable. Learning, unlearning, relearning. Today in the panel, they spoke very beautifully about digitalizing. People who did not transform during COVID never existed today as brands. So how much are you coachable? And I have an appetite for learning. I have hunger to learn. We are good in Tamil Nadu. This is my first event in Hyderabad, and thanks to Hitex and Sandeep for it. But the appetite to learn from the co-fellow entrepreneurs is something which is, I believe, taking me forward, and I lead and also team play. If you have just the solopreneur mindset, if you are a single person and not willing to collaborate, you will never be able to leverage the best of the business world. So this is a self-analysis scorecard, and in case your scores are lesser, don't worry. These are the areas which is going to give you a direction for you to actually build yourself in that area. So this is important. Bottom line, even if you have a very big truck in front of you, you're going to drive it. And if you have to drive it, you cannot depend on somebody else's skill to drive your company. Next one. Clarity on your offering, okay? I'm trying to concise the 5-day program, so very quickly, some tips is what I want to give you. So first is yourself. I gave you a scorecard. But second thing, how many ever years in business you are. Second one, which is going to be important, is your own business, the potential of your business. Many a times, we simply have a product, we believe it's good, and we believe it's absolutely a product which has to be in every human's hand, and we end up selling it. But this lean canvas, if you have a business, please take an image of it, or you can Google for lean canvas. These are all the areas which, as an entrepreneur, you must definitely do to yourself and your own business. Your problem statement. What problem is your business solving? What problem, or is it going to be on health element? Or the more you are clear about the problem that you're solving, the more you will be able to market it well in the right place. And the more is the probability of your increase in sale. Next is solution. So what's the problem? What's the solution that you're going to give? Unique value proposition. How are you different from your competition? Unfair advantage. How easily can your competitor copy you? Your customer segment, the target market. That's very, very, very important, because I'll give you a small example. A cotton salwar. Anybody from the audience, you don't have to be an entrepreneur. If you're selling a cotton salwar, who is your customer? Any answers? Any answers? Just go loud. One who believes in the natural fabric. That's amazing. Can we just give her one round of applause, please, for participating? Awesome. So any other answers? So here, I will give you an example. Women, can we say women? Salwas, women, right? So now, when you are an entrepreneur, how you write a TG in very simple form is, you should be, when you say your TG, immediately, I should be able to spot some names for you instantly and give you a referral, right? So she said somebody who likes and wears a natural fabric. But how much do we know who likes the natural fabric? It is quite, until we know the person very clearly, it's difficult. Whereas, say for example, we are going to have a teacher, okay, a teacher, or a speaker, example, a professional. Here, when it comes to cotton salwar, it's kind of slightly tricky. The maintenance is requires time and a little effort, because you can't just have a crushed cotton salwar and wear it. So the person who will be able to afford it is what is going to go for it. So when you are going to go for a high-end cotton salwar, if you are going to go and market it to a homemaker who is super busy and would not be willing for a price point, even if you are in front of women who are going to wear a salwar, they are not your TG. And another thing, if you give a TG based on professions, right, it's easy for others to quickly recognize. So the definition of TG will clearly give you an idea of whom you should market with. And then you will start looking for people in that place, especially, and just market it there. And the probability of sales is higher when you market it exactly to your TG. Is that fair enough? Right? So, okay. Okay, and then comes your cost structure. How are you going to acquire your cost? Customer acquisition cost, the distribution cost, okay? How much are you spending on acquiring one customer? And how are you going to expand it? All these data are very, very important if you really want to run a good business in a long term. And then your revenue streams. How can you build a business and increase your revenue streams? So if you are into a business, I would suggest you to go and do this to your business, even if you are a small business. You will have a clear idea whether you are in the right business or whether you are going to be in a profitable business or not. So when you want to achieve something, analyze yourself, analyze the potential of your business. So I'm just trying to run it through because I want to keep the session small. But yes, we do have a program where you will have a very clear understanding of all of this. The idea is not to sell more, but to get sold out. If you have an amazing product, if you understand how to market it, and if you build a product which is very good, people, and market it in the right way, build it and market it in the right way to the right TG, they will come and take it, and instead of you going and hard selling it, there is a difference. So this is where each entrepreneur should actually head to. It's very easy to listen to this, but then when you have to get there, there are a little combinations. But if you get there, today how many of us run to a Airtel showroom to recharge our phones? Right? We do, right? I mean, as in, automatically, if you don't pay it on date, your phone gets cut. You will pay your bill automatically, right? That's how your business should be. People should come to you automatically, but you should not be going and begging them month on month to buy from you. If you are able to arrive at a model like this, it's worth being in business, and that's what I meant as getting sold out rather than selling. Build that kind of a business model. That's very important, right? And for that, I've already given you the clue. Prepare yourself, prepare a strong business model. And important, next, you have a great business, you are equipped. What's next? Going and pitching it properly, right? What's your offering? pitch with the pain point that you're addressing. That's very important. We should not just go and say, hey, I do this, I do this. No. What problem is it going to solve? What is the solution you're providing? And who can benefit from it? These three things, if you have clarity on, it's absolutely easy for you to pitch, where you will be able to get takers very quickly. So, again, so if you want to really grow your customers, a good offering, good trust on your product, good recommendations, range of offerings, revenue stream. There will be businesses who just has one product, okay? You will have a product which is probably giving you 50 rupees of profits, but you may have a vision of earning 1 crore in a year. With a 50 rupee product, how are you aiming, how are you going to make it 1 crore? How will you achieve a 1 crore turnover? That is where your revenue streams come in place. Probably the same 50 rupee product can be bundled and sold as a dealer or a distributorship, where you will be making probably 2 lakhs. And that's when you instead of selling 50 rupee product, you will be able to sell a 2 lakh business. This is how you increase your revenue streams. And there are a lot of other methods to it. But these are the points that you need to know when you are actually going to watch your business and increase your customer growth and profits. Your target group and market is very, very important. These are things which I'm just trying to throw at you so that you will go and research on these things. Without all this, if you're running your business just believing in stalls, believe me, it's just going to be a hamster run. There is a difference which I always call a seller's trap. Do you know who's a seller and who's an entrepreneur? Today we are just being appreciated too much. All of us, if we have just stalls, we are not entrepreneurs. We are just sellers trying to become entrepreneurs. An entrepreneur is somebody whose business earns for them even when they are sleeping. So that's how you kind of develop your model. So I was talking about the target market. These are ways in which you will be able to define your target group or your ideal customer based on their sociographics, their demographics, their behavioral pattern. Okay, how frequently, how comfortably they will. Western wear, women who are completely comfortable about Indian wear and don't like Western wear, you can't call general women as a target market for a women's top. People preferences matter. Psychographics and geographic location again. Sorry, So again, some of the approaches which you can take in terms of your market segmentation. Ideal customer for a cotton kurti. You can see which continent can I sell, which country can I, which region, which city. These are areas where you cannot sell. There are certain things. You cannot try to sell poultry in certain countries, right, or in certain religions, right? So these are things where you can map, and when you map them, you will be able to plan your marketing accordingly. So now comes the secret, or not the secret. Why I spoke about all this is to actually speak about the collaborative marketing. If you really want to cook a great meal, the first and most important thing that you need to do is get your ingredients right. So your most important ingredient is one, you, two, your business, which I've given you a tool called the Lean Canvas. So with the Lean Canvas, assume you have your business, you are prepared to go for it. Now I would like to introduce you for marketing this product of yours, which you've amazingly built. You have a clear structure. The 3 most important strategies, which is not new, but which is very, very critical. All of us know word of mouth. First and the foremost. Second, social media. Even if you reject it, the business world is going to reject you. Third is collaborative marketing. But here, I would like to tell you one thing as entrepreneurs, all of us, very, very important. Don't Just because something is coming to you without clarity, I gave you 3 C's. Have it etched in your minds. Clarity, consistency, commitment. In all of this, as business owners, you're the decision maker for your business, nobody else. Today, all of you, many of us are running our businesses 100% depending on social media. One day, government decided to ban TikTok. So many people's business shut down. A business cannot be built. There will be a lot of advertisements coming because they are promoting their business. Instagram promotes its business. LinkedIn promotes its business. Digital marketers promote their business. But what is your business to you is one question that you need to ask yourself. Imagine your Instagram is shut. Is your business shutting down? If it's so, time to start rethinking the way of doing your business. Is it important? Very important. But can it be only that? No way. Word of mouth is our traditional methodology. What we suggest in collaborative marketing is leveraging word of mouth, accelerating through social media is your collaborative marketing. Humanizing your business process is very critical, but accelerating it with social media is the key. Accelerating it with digitalization. For example, earlier word of mouth is something which today you have a lot of rewards and reward systems, referral programs, affiliate marketing everywhere. But how successful is the key? Just by expecting a machine to make you an affiliate and just by getting somebody sign up digitally, are you going to be sure that they are going to be loyal to your brand and are they going to definitely affiliate your product? No. But whereas by this method, ensuring that your word of mouth, having that human touch, but taking the advantage of the digital world will definitely ensure that you will be able to scale up your business very, very fast, right? So here, word of mouth is all about trust. Trust definitely is going to take time, but there is going to be transaction and testimony is a possibility of word of mouth. So this is standard. All of us come and say, hey, my customer referred me, they liked it, so they referred me. We do that. But do we have a structure in our businesses which will keep bringing business back to us again and again? That is something which you have to ask yourself and work on too. Next is the social media. Be it the WhatsApp status, FB, Insta story, leverage all of this. Leverage all of this. This word is my favorite, leverage. You're here in this forum. It's a beautiful opportunity to showcase yourself, connect with people. And when it comes to leveraging, remember it's not about you. It's about a win-win, giving and taking. It's about mutual. So in social media, don't miss any of these. Okay, FB, Insta story, Reels, WhatsApp groups, the most creative and understandable way wins. How you communicate matters. Collaborative marketing is coming together for the benefit of each other, leveraging social media and accelerating your business process. So how to pick a good collaborator? So collaboration, we all, I think many of us know about the Instagram collaboration. Hey, pay somebody, they put it up on our story. Okay, some of you in Hyderabad, we also have upcoming influencer right there sitting behind one of my brothers who's also a media person, quite popular in YouTube. So in case you want anything, you can also talk to him. So here, but I'm not talking about collaboration with just influencers. I'm talking about collaboration with real people. Business people who have a very similar target group like yours. So say I am selling cotton kurtis and you're selling cotton saris. Example, sometimes kurtis and saris are sold by the same person. But if you share a common TG, if you collaborate together, not just to take advantage, but to give and take, you will be able to see a winning possibility. You can collaborate with non-competitive businesses. You can collaborate with people in other regions as well. we at WeDo, we have a community for women entrepreneurs, and each of these entrepreneurs are from different cities and different regions. But we have this method where we collaborate with them, and even without moving from our location, we are able to get connections for our business in the other region, which saves a lot of time. That can be done with collaboration. A person who has access to your target market, they don't have to be even your similar entrepreneur, but if they have access to your TG, they can still be your collaborator. If you want more elaboration, there is a program that we offer which you can check there. And also it can happen through B2B and reselling, versus the difference between a reseller and a collaborator, which I want to definitely emphasize, is we are all carried away by reselling. Give this and there's a commission given. But a collaborator is not a reseller. They have a purpose, you have a purpose, but you're coming together for a common purpose. So there is a difference. Right. And benefits: reaching new markets with almost nil investment, reaching new customer base. I have 200 customers and you have 200 customers, but when we come together, we have an market access to 400 customers. How good is that? With collaboration, you can. It's difficult because we are all people who don't want to share customers. We are selfish, we are scared. But when you do it through proper major ventures globally, happens through collaboration. But that can also be bought in small businesses. And it's definitely doable. As I told you, trust takes time. Being in a common ecosystem is what is going to take you there. And then creating a collaborative partnership 100% requires all of this. It's not just money. Hey, you get 10% from me, I get 20% from you is reselling. Collaboration is beyond that. And collaboration is about product knowledge. I will have to have a deep product knowledge about you. You have to have complete product knowledge about my product. There has to be mutual trust developed, agreeing on certain terms. Of course, a written agreement is better. A win-win. There should be a win for both the parties in the bargain. And what is in it for me is should never be the case. Okay, and it should not be, okay, some of them will be total take. It's not going to work on the long run. And there has to be a plan of action which you draft with your collaborator. Finally, this is a collaboration preparation form, which again, if you want it, you can ping me at WeDoWomen_India on Instagram, and I will be able to share it with you. So when you're preparing for a collaboration with a counterpart, which is a little effort, will give you a lot of business possibilities. Reason being, you're going to directly get an access to their customers, and they are going to get access to your customers. The first part, we are all excited. Wow, I'm going to get access to their customers. But what about giving away my customers? So that's also the key. So these are some of the details which you may require to make a decision if you want to collaborate with a particular person or not, with a particular venture or not. And this will help you take a decision. And then when you start working, you can definitely have a better progress, and it may not end up in a massacre. So these are again the collaboration checklist, which I call them. And then first thing is, whenever you're collaborating or intend to collaborate, you will first be in an unknown zone. Probably you would have just exchanged a business card. Then you will move from an unknown zone to get to know them, which is a known zone. And then when you get into that contract and start working together, you move to a own zone. Our aim in business is to create such collaborators so that finding one customer is a task. If you're able to find one collaborator, that's also a task, but that's equal to minimum 100 customers. So while you find your own customers, making an effort to find your collaborators is also going to bring you best benefits and make you multiply your business very quickly. So warning, don't collaborate with everybody. This is something which I want to give as a warning, because we tend to, okay, come, let's collaborate. That's not how it's going to work. You need to know the person before you know what you're going to get into. So choice of collaborators can be domain-based, can be location-based. For example, we wanted to get to know more of Hyderabad. With High-Techs, we decided to collaborate, and that's probably because of the location and the domain. If it was a general expo, we wouldn't have had an interest. And then it could be a community, community-based, interest-based, etc. See, this word is something which everybody say, stylish. Network is your net worth. How can your network, people who you met here, you've stylishly exchanged your business cards with, we say your network is your net worth. How can that happen? It's not about the number of people you know, but it's about how well you know them and how well you can connect with them. And that comes over nurturing, and it's a two-way traffic. It's never a one-way traffic. And then, yeah, most of us say, hey, when you start a business, this is something which is going to help you. You may think you have a very limited network, but if you actually check as individual, each of us will have so much of network. So this sheet will tell you, you as a networker, how much of network you personally have. Not only that, if you're able to also share this to your collaborator and ask them to fill this, you will know how much of network they get. And we do this in Vidu. We follow all these so that we are able to get the right kind of connections in place. So finally, don't try to go alone. It's easy through collaborative marketing. If you're actually able to go to the next phase, this will be the best way to do it. And wrong collaborations, to avoid it, due diligence is something which we strongly advocate, and build reputation and trust. So your sales system should finally have your researched product and service. It should have a go-to-market strategy, get feedbacks and improvise constantly, whichever business you are in. Develop your sales channel continuously, get into collaborations, and build right networks. Have a purpose for business networking. So we might also ask, is it possible to collaborate with competition? Absolutely yes, if you're going to have your niche. You have something, probably. We usually collaborate with our own competitors in our industry because of this collaborative marketing. We are very good at giving courses. So we are able to tie up with communities. So you create your own niche. So niche is something where you can find your niche by researching your industry, your keyword, your customer feedback. So when you are able to analyze all this, you will exactly know in which way you are and where is your niche. So that's it. That's your industry. That's your whole customer market segment, and that is where your niche is. So niche is a place where you will be able to show your unique feature. Okay? So finally, how to leverage your, this is a book that I will recommend. It's called The Purple Cow. So please see that, how to stand unique in your own industry. And finally, that's about the session, so about the collaborative marketing. So thank you very much. And that's me. You can get in touch with us and check our website. We are into entrepreneurial programs exclusively for women. Thank you so much for the opportunity.